$100 billion. That's a conservative estimate of what American taxpayers have spent across 50 years of tax credits, mandates, and subsidies, trying to convince you that ethanol is the future of clean fuel. It isn't. It never really was, but that hasn't stopped it from becoming the law. This is green oil, a greenwashed extension of the same fossil fuel industry, financed by the same government hand that funds big oil itself. Two forces, same wallet, different color. Oil, electricity, control. One battle. This is Energy Wars.
On Energy Wars, two forces clash.
But the ultimate effect is your bank account. Today's battle, green oil against black gold. The government just made a cheaper fuel option available at gas stations nationwide. But cheaper at the pump doesn't always mean cheaper for you. Sometimes it just moves the bill from the pump to the mechanic. It's called E15, sometimes labeled unleaded 88, 15% ethanol, 85% gasoline. In 2026, the EPA issued a waiver letting E15 be sold nationwide year-round, lifting the seasonal restrictions that used to limit it, specifically to help lower gas prices. Here's what the pump sign doesn't tell you loudly enough. Ethanol is an alcohol. It's hygroscopic. It pulls moisture straight out of the air. And it's simply more corrosive than pure gasoline to rubber, plastic, and certain metals. E15 is EP approved for cars from model year 2001 onward that covers most vehicles on the road. But it's explicitly banned in boats, motorcycles, lawnmowers, chainsaws, generators, and any car built before 2001. Use it in the wrong engine, and you can void your warranty and pay for the repair yourself. This is the E15 engine trap, a few cents cheaper at the pump. A potential mechanic's bill waiting on the other side, one the ad on the pump never mentions. So why doesn't the oil industry just fight this? Why let the government force a corn product into gasoline at all? Because there's a ceiling built into the whole system, and big oil already knows exactly where it sits. You'd think big oil would be furious about a government mandate forcing corn fuel into your tank. It isn't, because the mandate comes with a built-in limit that keeps most of your tank and most of your money flowing to oil anyway. It's called the blend wall. Conventional engines and fuel infrastructure simply cannot absorb much more than 10 to 15% ethanol without risking damage or losing fuel economy. That ceiling has existed for over a decade, and the entire ethanol mandate has been built and repeatedly renegotiated around it, which means even at the most aggressive blend the government pushes, E15, 85% of every gallon in your tank is still pure gasoline. The government gets to claim a green fuel mandate. The oil industry gets to keep the vast majority of the product and the profit locked in by the ceiling itself. This is the blend wall illusion, a green fuel mandate that was engineered from the start to guarantee oil keeps the largest share of your tank forever. But the 15% that does make it into your tank isn't free of consequences either. It's quietly costing you every time you fill up, and the math is not what you'd expect. This is where the ethanol story stops being about your engine and starts being about how often you have to stop and fill it up. And the honest math here is more interesting than the scary headlines you've probably seen. Pure ethanol contains roughly 34% less energy per gallon than pure gasoline. That part is simple physics confirmed by the Department of Energy. Ethanol just doesn't pack the same punch, gallon for gallon. Now that 34% number is about pure ethanol. Your tank is only 15% ethanol at most. So in the real world, switching from regular gas to E15 costs you roughly 1 to 2% of your fuel economy per tank. A 27 mile per gallon car becomes about 26 and a half. 1 to 2% feels small at the pump. It's designed to feel small. But there are over 250 million registered vehicles in the United States. A tiny efficiency loss, multiplied across every one of them, every tank, every year, is not a rounding error anymore. It's a permanent, invisible national fuel tax nobody voted on. This is the mileage math, not a heist you feel in one tank. At cost the entire country pays gallon by gallon quietly, forever, built into a fuel mandate nobody bothered to explain the arithmetic of. Ethanol at least actually exists at scale, however flawed the math. The next green fuel promise didn't even get that far. Before we go further, remember, this is still about your money. Because every failed next big thing in green fuel gets funded by public money first, and quietly written off later, usually without anyone circling back to tell you what happened to it. A decade ago, algae biofuel was pitched as the real answer. Algae can theoretically produce 10 to 100 times more oil per acre than corn or soy. Governments and oil majors alike poured money into pilot programs. It was, on paper, the fuel of the future. Here's what actually happened. Harvesting and dewatering the algae are pulling the oil out of what's still 99% water. Can eat up 70% of the entire project's capital costs. The result, algae fuel still costs $8 to $16 a gallon to produce, compared to roughly $3 to $4 for regular gasoline. Most commercial algae producers have quietly pivoted to selling cosmetics and supplements instead. This is the algae illusion. A fuel that was always 3 to 5 times more expensive than the fuel it was supposed to replace, funded by the same taxpayer money that's still propping up corn ethanol today. E15, the blend wall, the mileage math. Algae, every attempt to dethrone oil with a greener alternative, and every single one of them ends the same way. So add it up. What you paid at the pump, what you paid in taxes to subsidize the alternative, and what you're still paying for a fuel that was never actually going to replace oil in the first place. The engine trap that risks your warranty, the blend wall that guarantees oil keeps most of the tank, the mileage math nobody explained honestly, and the algae fuel that never became more than a lab experiment funded by your taxes. Remember the number from the start of this video, $100 billion across 50 years of subsidies. And after all of it, after 5 decades and 100 billion taxpayer dollars, the most aggressive ethanol blend on the market still leaves 85% of your tank as pure gasoline. Green oil was never a replacement. It became an expensive, less energy-dense additive, one that can lower your mileage and risk your engine, propped up by billions in public money. Despite everything invested in it, black gold remains the undisputed king of the global energy board. That's the $100 billion question answered. But this war has more than one front. On Energy Wars, 2 forces clash, and now you know exactly where the effect lands. Next time on Energy Wars, one of them took 100 million years to make. The other one's made in a lab this year. Only one of them can actually scale. Ancient fuel versus future fuel. If your money is already in this fight, you might as well know how it ends. Subscribe. The next battle drops soon.